calls on all the big races. Welcome along to What a Shout. This is sponsored by Betfred and it's brought to you by the Racing Post. What a weekend of racing we have in store. We have some cracking two-year-old races on Cambridgeshire Day at Newmarket, and of course it's Arc weekend over at Longchamp. So we're going to be dissecting the feature races and hopefully finding you some winners along the way. Good morning, Robbie.
Good morning, Emma. How are you?
I was very much hoping you were going to walk in with a haircut today.
It's not nice, is it? You've seen me looking better than this, that's for sure. And I think this shirt's been a bit cleaner too. But
and it's probably been ironed once or twice in his life as well.
Yeah, it's probably a bit too big for me as well. But
I did feel like it looks like Paul Keeley's shirt.
yeah, I mean, I can't really answer that. Hopefully Keel's having fun in America at least. He'll be back on the show in a couple of weeks.
So come on, Art Weekend. Does this do it for you?
Yeah, exciting. I was finding it a bit weird on the Sunday though. There's a bit of a lull for about an hour and a half up until the Arc when they have the Arab race. But take that out, it's rock and roll non-stop, isn't it?
So you're partying crazy on Sunday, rock and roll heading for the Arc.
I won't be partying now. I just think another chilled one for me this weekend.
Okay, and what about Saturday? These two-year-old races coming together on Cambridgeshire Day. It's a brilliant day, isn't it?
Going to learn a lot. Yeah, it's got everything you want in a day. Sort of the Saturday card Longchamp sort of builds up nicely into a slightly better one on Sunday. But looking forward to it. Good
stuff. Johnny, how are you? Does it do it for you this weekend?
Yeah, I like the quality flat racing definitely, and Newmarket is excellent racing. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, or for Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Look, the two-year-old races, 6 furlong races, both Group 1s, they're going to be good races to watch. And although I much kind of half prefer the Dewhurst rather than the Middle Park Stakes. I think 7 furlongs is a real good test of a two-year-old. But these are excellent races too, and you've got the Cambridgeshire, plus you've got the races in France as well. So, yeah, for flat people, it's a cracking weekend.
And have you been across to the Arc in recent years?
No, I've been to Paris a few times. I was never at the Arc, never ever. It wasn't really on my list as such, to be honest. I kind of like going to Paris, but no, I've never been to any race meeting in France actually. But the Arc for me, I don't know. It was never. I'd rather go to maybe Newbury for a jumps meeting than the Arc for a Sunday in November.
I feel like Kilbeggan comes ahead of the Arc in your book.
Yeah, there'd be a few places ahead of the Arc in my book anyway, to be honest.
Okay, well, we'll pick your brains throughout the programme. Matt, I feel like you've been to the Arc on a few occasions.
Yeah, I haven't actually, but it is on the bucket list. But I feel like John, I love the midweek stuff around the national gaff tracks around here. But it all comes like it. But it's fantastic. I mean, we've got Newmarket, the Group 1s, and Arc's always a fascinating weekend. And we've got a brilliant renewal once again, as you'd expect for Europe's Premier Middle Listers contest. And with the Ryder Cup ongoing as well, I need to go to Keeley's pub this weekend and have loads of screens around.
I feel like there's not enough time for you to follow all this sport.
I know, yeah, it starts very early. To say it started very early on Friday morning. It's going to take us all the way through to late Sunday afternoon. So yeah, we've got to squeeze it all in. But I just wonder sometimes people who don't like sport, what do they do at a weekend?
Don't know. Confuses me. Robbie, any ideas?
I was just going to say probably go shopping, but I mean that's.
They go shopping or they go to the pub, I think.
Basically, yeah. But I completely agree. Like, what are you doing with yourself?
Well, there isn't a better time to sign up to the Racing Post Members Club. You can get your first 2 months for just $9.99. Go check it out.
Are you ready to take your passion for horse racing to the next level? With Racing Post Members Club, you gain exclusive access to the best racing insights, analysis and tools. Immerse yourself in award-winning content from interviews with the sport's biggest stars to race previews and behind-the-scenes features. Get the inside track with early access to the Racing Post digital newspaper from 9 PM in the evening and daily selections from our expert tipsters. Racing Post Members Club is your ultimate ticket to the thrilling world of racing. Subscribe today and pay just £9.99 per month for the first 2 months with the code SUMMER. See the link in the video description for more information. Terms apply.
Betfred ambassador Richard Kingscote joins us live on the programme. Richard, good to have you with us. A busy weekend in store.
Morning. Yeah, good weekend in store. lots of nice rides in good races, which is what we all want, really.
Speaking of really good races, is Arc Weekend, and the Arc in particular, the ultimate race you'd love to win, or it must be right up there?
Oh, it's right up there, absolutely. Particularly, in Europe, it is, along with the Derby, the pinnacle. So hopefully we can run well in it. It's nice to have a ride in it, for sure.
And before that, you're heading to Newmarket, which again, I think it's a really good idea when they moved everything to having this really good 2-year-old card. The exciting horses for next year.
Yeah, exactly. Lots to look forward to. Some form through the year to come into it, and some nice horses on show.
Quick word on you. Quick word on the season. How do you think it's been? I mean, you've had plenty of winners, and you've ridden some nice horses.
Ridden some nice horses. Prize money is very good. Lacked a little bit of flow, I'd say.
Yeah.
But it's not been a dreadful year by a long stretch.
One horse to quickly mention, Desert Crown. How's he? Any update on how he's getting on?
As far as I know, he's still on box rest at the vets. They're keeping an eye on him. That's all I know, really. Just a long process for him.
Well, I'm now going to drill you on your rides, your fancied rides over the weekend. We're going to start with Ghostwriter in the Royal Lodge. 2 from 2. You won on him first time up, and he's looked quite impressive in both of his wins.
Yeah, he gave me a nice feel on the July track. He's a big frame of a horse. I think whatever he does this year is a plus, really. He feels like a next year horse, but he's really likeable. He quickened up, he galloped out well, and then he backed it up with a nice win at Ascot as well. So I think he deserves to run in the race, and I think he'll give me a really good spin.
Yeah, it looks quite an open race. There's not one obvious standout. The Middle Park you rode just saw, also for Clive Cox, and he won the July Stakes pretty nicely.
Yeah, once he settles, he was very impressive in the July Stakes. I think the first few strides are key. In France, he just jumped a little bit too well into daylight and then over-raced. So I think if I can get the start right, he's in there with a chance. Obviously, the 2 horses that finished in front of him in France are there. So, we'll see. One of them needs rain. We had a little bit of rain this morning here, but not enough. Hopefully it'll be perfect for my lad.
Would he probably have found the ground in the pre-morning a bit testing too, or would he prefer better ground?
Yeah, I think so. What it looks like he's been doing, I think he'd prefer a sounder surface. I think the ground was lovely yesterday. They put a little bit of water on, and we've had 3 mil of rain this morning. So really, the ground should ride lovely this weekend and suit most people.
Completely different type of rates next. A cavalry charge in the Cambridgeshire you ride Astro King, who looks to have a massive chance.
Yeah, he does. He's gone the right way this year, getting his head in front last time. He's looking like he's staying a little further now, but with 35 runners, it's going to be a gallop to aim at. He needs to just take the prelims well. Often when he's ran at Ascot, he struggles with it. But York seems to have been suiting him. He's backed up some good runs there this year. Hopefully he can keep his cool at Newmarket and not run his race before the race actually starts. But yeah, he's well able on his day.
It's tricky, isn't it, Newmarket? Because obviously you canter the whole way to the start as well, and it's just so big and open. But I do think in a race like this, it's key, really, to have something that stays a little bit further, because they're so hard at it from such a long way out, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And you said it just now. It's a cavalry charge. So then it's just getting a bit of luck in running and hope you've got a decent horse, which he looks like he is.
Is there one or two that you've sort of picked off that you think are the ones to beat and follow at this stage?
Well, of course, Mr. Charlton's horse isn't drawn overly far away from me. Comes in as favourite, which is helpful. He's not drawn the other side of the track. But other than that, it's just a race like this. I'm glad I'm drawn one side or the other rather than in the middle and having to make a decision where I'll go. You know, the decision's made for us and we'll just have to suck it up and hope we're in the right place.
Good stuff. And when do you then head to Paris? Do you head Saturday or Sunday morning?
No, Sunday morning. Luckily got on a little plane.
You want some decent weather for that. Let's talk about the Arc. Let's talk about Bay Bridge. What do you make of his chances?
Yeah, he's a solid horse. I think the 1.5 miles is well within him, as we saw at Kempton. That was good for us to try him over 1.5 miles. He settled well, and I think that will be key. But we got a beautiful draw, and I'll be surprised if he's not there with a shout.
That was almost a sort of perfect run back for him, wasn't it, at Kempton? Confidence boosting, and he looked very happy and very good, as we've seen on so many occasions in the past.
Yeah, exactly. He's shown a high level of form on a good few occasions. Hopefully the ground doesn't dry up too much for him. Obviously, an Arc is a huge race and will never be easy to even place, but he's a horse with a nice profile. Ace Impact is obviously favourite, but there's no real certainty in the race, so hopefully we can run well.
You touched very briefly on the draw. Stall 6 statistically has been a plum draw. You must have been pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, it makes life that little bit easier, doesn't it, when you're just in a nice sit straight from the stalls, rather than having to try and manoeuvre into a position. Hopefully you can just land in one and just save that energy. So yeah, it's definitely helpful.
And to sum the race up, you'd view it as a pretty open race, which it looks, and a couple of them have been not drawn favourably of the leading fancies too, which doesn't help.
Well, it helps us. Well, yeah, I mean, there's any number of horses you could say could win it, no problem, you know, and it wouldn't be a shock to see them win it. It is a very open contest, so it's great to be involved.
Well, I'm sure you'll give it your best shot. Good luck over the weekend. That starts, of course, at Newmarket tomorrow, the Arc on Sunday, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
A really exciting weekend for jockey Richard Kingscote. Bay Bridge, Robbie, do you give him a chance?
Yeah, I give him a chance. Yeah, he's come out quite well the draw, hasn't he? I mean, I'm not sure it's completely a vintage running, and he obviously does come alive at this time of year, and I've always thought he might look better over 1.4 miles, so he's definitely on my shortlist for sure. Okay.
Right, well, let's get cracking with some of the action from Newmarket, and we're going to start with the Juddmonte Cheveley Park, a Group 1 for 2-year-old fillies, 6 furlongs, 2.25, and Matt, Relief Rally, I'm guessing, will be favourite.
Yeah, they're all lined up here, aren't they? Yeah, Relief Rally, your market leader at present for William Haggis to allow the winner. 15-8, she is. I mean, apart from that narrow miss at Royal Ascot, she will be unbeaten in all 5 starts. We've got the French raider Jasna's Secret, Christophe Soumillon come over to ride here 7-2, 11-2 Soprano. Then for George Bowie and Cherry Blossom. I mean, we got to see what Johnny thought about One Look last week. And Cherry Blossom wins this. I mean, what do we make of One Look's victory last weekend? Portaficciano at 8-1. I thought the one here, the interesting one, with 4 places each way. Persian Dreamer at 14-1. Lowered the colours of Star of Mystery on the July course last time. On a line through that, has only got about a length to find on Relief Rally, yet it's about 5 times the price. So I thought Persian Dreamer each way at 14 was definitely the way to play on decent ground. Obviously good to fin ground at Newmarket, but a brilliant renewal, as you'd expect for a Group 1.
Well, one thing I've come to learn is all guests in the studio generally think that most favourites are going to get beat, or they want to get them beat and find some better value.
They probably do statistically, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think.
So you're going to go against Relief
Yeah,
Valley,
I think
aren't you?
that sort of concerned me. I mean, just like Matt touched upon that race at the Curragh last week, Cherry Blossom. I know she's beat the rest of the field, but you would have hoped. I mean, you either have to believe that the winner is an absolute superstar. So I think that probably dented the Lava form a little bit because she went very well in that. I just think Jazz and the Secret's interesting. I don't see in why learner. I was looking it up. I couldn't find what that stands for. But this French trainer has only sent one horse over to Britain, and that was in the Commonwealth Cup. Finished a good fifth at 125 to 1 last year. So I think it's interesting. This horse is coming over, and Sumion.
You quite often get French fillies running in this race, don't you?
Yeah,
and they've got
true.
a decent enough record over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I haven't got the numbers to hand, but I mean, Andre Forbes
Robbie.
had a lot of. He's had a lot. Sorry.
What were you doing this morning?
I was sleeping. He's had a lot. They've had a lot of success over the years in this meeting. Yeah, the form of the Deauville sort of win last time has not worked out brilliantly, but she did it really easily. We don't really know her ability, the sort of limit of her ability just yet. And I'm not sure the British and Irish fillies are up to load, so she's the one for me.
Okay. Johnny, what do you make of this?
Look, Relief Rally's, like, she's been progressive, doing everything right. I'd be a bit like Robbie. I'd be looking for something to beat her. Saying that, she won the Lauder, and she was value for more than what she won, because she was like trapped inside for a long while and couldn't get out. And I mean, I actually opposed her that day, and I was praying they wouldn't leave her out. But eventually she did get out, and she won kind of snug at the end. She beat Cherry Blossom again. Now, Cherry Blossom didn't do anything for the form last week, and it mustn't say much for O'Brien's fillies, really, at this distance, that she's turning out again here quick, because surely he could have, it has to be an afterthought. She wouldn't have ran last week if she was coming here, you'd have thought. But, like, she was well beat by that horse of filly at Paddy Toomey's. It is hard to fancy Cherry Blossom in this race. The French horse, I don't know anything about it. It's two wins. I've had a bad record with French jockeys at this meeting over the years. I think bottom line, most French jockeys are duds anyway, to be honest. I genuinely think if you never back a French jockey when they come away, even when they're riding in France, some of them they're weak as kittens in my eyes anyway. Look, I don't know. I wouldn't have any kind of even though he's not French, he's actually Belgian, but he's French based anyway. It's hard to know how good it is too on top of that. Look, it's probably an open race. You'd have to give Porta Fortuna a bit of a chance. Soprano has a bit of a chance. Look, the favourite's the one to beat, but I've a feeling like she's quite small as well, and she's going to stop progressing at some stage, and maybe they'll just the longer the season goes on, the better chance they have of catching up with her. I'll go Porta Fortuna maybe each way. I think the Moigler form, it gives it a decent chance in a race like this.
Yeah, I know William Haggis certainly thinks the favourite's very smart. I remember he was on the programme actually before York, and he highlighted her as being a tip-top filly. What about the Juddmonte Middle Park at 3 p.m? Colts equivalent. It's tight at the top, isn't it, Matt, regards the market?
Yeah, it is. Obviously, this is that French form coming in as well, where Van Dijk came out on top. This is the quickest ground that Van Dijk will have encountered in his career so far, but obviously he's very upwardly mobile. 15-8 joint with River Tiber. Okay, was third behind him in France, but there was noises of River Tiber wasn't quite his best going into that contest, so we might see a better River Tiber this weekend. The July Stakes winner Jasor 7-1, back on better ground. He may be of interest. Unbeaten Task Force is at 9-1. I feel like Elite Status has been quickly written off at 16-1 as well after that poor effort in those very soft at France. So, you know, he looks a little bit overpriced. But, yeah, can River Tiber overturn that form? Do we believe what was said prior to that French race, that it wasn't quite right going into it? Do we expect a much better performance this weekend?
Yeah, interesting. 2 1/4 lengths in the morning was the difference between them on that occasion. Do you think it can turn around?
Yeah, I think he probably will turn it around. I think we obviously had that setback going into it. Also, the fact that Van Dijk's not really proven on this quicker surface would concern me slightly. And they're certainly talking about Van Dijk as possibly a Guineas horse next year, who they'll think will stay a bit further. So I'd be worried about him over this more of a speed test, whereas River Tiber, you know, he's got form over 5 furlongs.
Winner.
Yeah, Coventry winner. Likes fast ground. I think he'll reverse the form, but I'll also give a shout to Task Force. Put him up a couple of weeks ago. I think he's an interesting horse for Rafe Beckett. The Ripon race he won last time, he was by far the best in that. He had quite a troubled passage. He had to switch wide But I mean, 7 Questions was third in that and has come out and almost won the Mill Reef, so that form's looking pretty good. And he's about 9-1. So I think if it's not River Tiber, it might be Task Force.
Johnny, what are you thinking? Van Dijk, River Tiber, can it reverse the form, or are you looking elsewhere beyond both of them?
I just think at this time of the year you can get big price winners in some of these races. Look, when River Tiber ran in the Prix, they said that he'd come on for the run. And looking at that race, I would have said the next time they meet, I'll go River Tiber. But sometimes it can be hard to get a horse back if they go off. And I think there's a little niggle about him as well. I'm getting to hear that he's not mightn't be just 100%. So Van Dijk has to prove himself on this surface, and that's a big if. And like the ground looked rattling there yesterday anyway, and I expect it to be at least good anyway, and maybe even quicker. After that, they were much of a muchness. Task Force just showed it, like they all have little chances. But I was going to go for a big price horse here. I actually backed it in the Phoenix Stakes, a horse called Give Me the Beat Boys. Now I do not know why it drifted from about 5-1 to 14-1. I'm guessing it must have had a bad prep for that race. And look, I do think it's overpriced here at 33-1. It's only about 2 lengths to find, but with River Tiber on, they're running in the Cambridgeshire Stakes. Jessica Harrington is just the exact kind of outfit that wins these races at big prices. You know what I mean? So look, the fact that it's even running in the race is a pointer, I think. And I was looking at it as the price it is. I think it has as good a chance as 12-1 shots in the race, if not better. So that's the one I'm going to go for an outsider. Give Me the Beat Boys each way.
Yeah, and as you say, these races at this time of year, they've thrown up plenty of decent price winners. The Cambridgeshire at 340. Now, this is a very easy race. Obviously, to sell complete cavalry charge. 1 mile and 1 furlong. Greek Order, I'm sure, will be favourite here and has been quite well supported through the week, Matt.
Yeah, he has. I absolutely love this race. 35 runners stretched across the road in mile. What's not to love? And, you know, we always get that proverbial group horse in a handicap. We think horses that have won this, Pipe Dream, Halling, Lord North as well. And the Black Studs Greek Order may be in the next off the conveyor belt. 7-2 in the Juddmonte colours. There were 6 places each way on line for this one. We've got 11-1 Dual Identity and Astro King, the ultra consistent Astro King that Richard Kingscote was talking about. The King's Horse Saga at 12s. I like Oviedo and Liberty Lane, 12-1, both of those. I think they're likely to run the race. Liberty Lane is £1 well in. The one that I do really like, though, is Crackshot, who was actually entered on Friday. He's been pulled out of that one to come here. He tried to go with Royal Rhyme at Goodwood, and now we know that one's Champion Stakes bound, and he weakened in the closer stages over 10. He was strong at the line over a mile last time out at Newbury. So I thought Crackshot 14-1, Georgia Derby claiming 3. And a huge price. The best bred horse running anywhere this weekend will be Phaylak. Cowdage Boy by Arc winner in Daydream. Never wins, always hits the post. He's 100-1, 6 places. He was really close this time last year at York. He always seems to run his race. Doesn't like getting his head in front, but he likes running through horses later. I thought 100-1, 6 places to hit the frame. He'd be worth a shot. But Crackshot's my main pick. Well, I could go on and on. 35 runners. And space for most of them. I love the Cambridgeshire.
Well, Greek Order, let's start with this one because you can see why he's favourite. He's looked impressive winning at Haydock and Newbury his last couple of starts. But 7-2...
Sure enough, isn't it? I don't really completely understand that. I mean, obviously he's got a big reputation because he's gone off a short price favourite for all 5 of his starts. He was impressive at Newbury last time, but at those odds, you've really got to take him on. The draw's actually been quite kind to him going on recent years. We should talk about that.
Yeah. Where do you want to be drawn?
Well, the last 7 winners have been between 21 and 29, so coming near side. I think it sort of makes sense that that's where you would want to be. I know these things can change, but that is quite a significant trend there. The one I put up earlier in the week is in 14, Tyrrhenian Sea. He could always tack across if needs be. But this horse is quite interesting. He's got a really good record fresh. And, I mean, he wasn't right last time at Kempton. He's coming from a long time off. But just a lot of his form just really looks quite good. He was a very good second to Lord North at Lingfield earlier this year. Lord North went on to win the Dubai Turf. He's off 105. He's quite lightly raced. Aidan Keeley's claiming 3. He won this last year on Majestic. He's one of them. And the other one I was looking at was Sir Mark Prescott's horse, Eagle's Way. Just think we yet to see the best of this horse. Dual Identity is quite prominent in the market. He was 4th to him at Sandown last time, but the sort of pace collapsed there. A lot of the first 3 home were held up. Eagles Way was always prominent. He did quite well to finish as close as he did. He's £8 better off this time, and 2 or 3 times the price. He's got the lightly raced profile I look for, and everything looks in his favour really. So they're 2 in a very hard race to solve. Yeah,
it was interesting listening to Richard Kingscote about Astro King. The key to this horse is very much keeping a lid on him, which isn't always easy at Newmarket because big open spaces, you've got to counter the whole mile and 1 to get down to the start. But yeah, one with a chance for sure if everything remains intact. Johnny, the winner of the Cambridgeshire, please.
Look, I think the favourite has pretty strong credentials because originally I'd say, excuse me, that they thought that he was like at least a 90. He's only rated 95 now, and I say when he started running, we kind of like as even last year, he had a big reputation. He always had it. And as Robbie said, he started short price every day he ran, and he was a bit disappointing at the start. But I'd say he's just coming alive now, and even I'd say 95 is a good chance it's not even nowhere near the ceiling of how good he is. Plus, like he's got a beautiful draw here. 20, I think he's drawn 25. I mean, from what I saw of races there yesterday, like you may as well stay at home if you're drawn 1 to 10, and you have no chance in the wide earthly world. Like I backed the first favourite yesterday in a maiden, like normally in maidens. The draw doesn't make much of a difference, but it was drawn 1, came out like a rocket, was about 4 lengths ahead of its own side, and next thing when they joined together, he about 4 lengths behind the ones on this side. So I think like the draw is massive, so I'd be ruling out anything that's drawn low. I think he's definitely the horse to beat. No, I wouldn't be going to probably having any money on him or anything like that, but he is the horse to beat, and like he's gone from 80 to 85. He's put up another £10. He's farming good ground, soft ground. He's got great connections here with Murphy riding for Stout. So look, I think he's the horse to beat. One horse I could give a chance to is probably capable of winning one of these is a horse called Saga. The last day he ran was kind of a small field conditions race. He was forced to make the run in, but he's a horse that probably better suited by a cavalry charge and maybe delivered late and fluking one of these really more. He is capable of winning one. He is a dodge at the same time. But there were the 2 I'd be considering, Greek Order and maybe Saga. But Greek Order is definitely the horse to beat.
Thank you, Johnny. Well, let's switch our attention to Sunday and Longchamp. It is the Qatar Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Takes place at 3:05, and it's an open race. Matt, how do they bet?
Yeah, it is a very open, and the favourite's probably on the short side of things. I think it could be a 5-to-field job. I know he's unbeaten Ace Impact. Beat Al Riff in his prep for this. He's 11-4 the French Derby score, and there's a bit of a jump to Hulmes 11-2. You got Westover 13-2 as well. Obviously, they had a real humdinger, didn't they, in the King George at Ascot. And obviously, King is still his third there. Was a little bit disappointed in the Irish champion. I wonder whether they may have left their season behind in that grueling race. Continuous to Betfred St. Leger when a clearly an upward curve, 11-2. But you're the 1-2 from the Niel, Fantastic Moon and Feed the Flame. The ground is interesting, isn't it? Probably the quickest ground we've had for an arc in many years. That'll suit Fantastic Moon, the German Derby winning 10s, and then we've got Baybridge 11s. And what about this Japanese horse, Through the Seas? Only found Equinox too good last time out. How good is that form as well? Do we need to take that seriously? Japanese desperate for a first up success with Christophe Lemaire on board. It's always a great race, but this year I really cannot wait for it.
Totally agree. Ace Impact, how good is the Prix de Jockey Club winner?
Yeah, he's good. I think we're all expecting him to maybe win his warm-up for this a little bit easier, but it was just a warm-up. I mean, he's unbeaten. He's looked like potentially the best horse in training. It's just how he handles this step up in trip. I see no reason why he's going to. I don't really dislike anything about him, to be honest. I don't really like taking like sort of 11-4 in these kind of races when you get in 4 places. I think Westover's rock solid, to be honest. He was obviously 6 in this last year on very soft ground. He would have found that a little bit too deep for him. The surface is better this time. But I think crucially, he's just a better horse this year than he was last year. His last few RPRs are much better. And before he came into Longchamp last year, he ran no sort of race in the King George, finished tailed off. This time, he was sort of 4.5 lengths clear of a really top-class field, only head behind Hulmes, who's drawn quite poorly in relation.
That's a shocker, isn't it?
Yeah, 14, it's not ideal. But, I mean, there's nothing really between Hulmes and Westover, but I'd always rather side with the horse who's, you know, very much on the improve and is younger and has course form. So Westover's my main pick. I respect Baybridge. I think the softer the better for him, though. So it'll be interesting to see what the ground does. But if it is quite quick, then I do think the Japanese horse through 7 Seas is very interesting. I mean, if Equinox ran here, what price would he be? He'd be probably quite short, I'd say. And she was actually, I know Equinox had a very wide trip in that Japanese race, but through 7 Seas had a very troubled passage herself as well. So I think she's a very good horse as too. So if you're asking for a sort of a tri-cast, then I think I'll go for Westover through 7 Seas and Bay Bridge.
Okay, continuous no for you,
Yeah,
the Ledger winner.
Yeah, it's just the preparation. I don't like the fact this seems like a bit of an afterthought to me. I think to win an Arc, you probably need to sort of be laser sort of targeted at it from months in advance. Obviously, horses coming fresh have a pretty good record in the Arc as well. So I'd be a bit put off by him, but yeah. Very interesting race, to be honest.
Yeah, interesting. Johnny, what's your take on it?
Look, to be honest, there's some of the horses here, I don't know them, to be brutally honest. I've never heard of 2 or 3 of the horses that are running, so it's very hard to have a huge opinion then in the race. Ace Impact is a horse today. I know, but like I haven't been following like religiously at the same time of the English horses or the Irish English horses. Continuous, I agree there with Robbie. I think it's an afterthought, and Ledger winners have a bad record in this race. Look, I couldn't really fancy that. Hulmes, Westover, there's not a lot between them. Like on that King George running, I suppose the fact that Hulmes has a bad draw here, you'd probably be angling towards Westover. Like there are a few horses 10 and 12 and 14 to 1 that I don't even know who's training them, or I don't know anything about them, to be honest. So look, Bay Bridge to me looks like a horse at 10 furlongs. It's just shy of being a top horse, but the way it won in Kempton, it's possible that the 12 furlongs it might bring out a bit of improvement in it. And if I was to have a little bet in it, that's the one I'd go maybe for an each way stab. I think it's, although it is getting found in the market now, it's not a huge price now on anymore. It was around 20 to 1. It's much less now. But if you force me to pick one, that's the one I think I'd chance Bay Bridge each way.
Good stuff. Well, the Prix de l'Opera follows the Arc at 3:50. It is, of course, a Group 1 for fillies and mares. Matt, how do they bet here?
Yeah, obviously Blue Rose Sen was talked about as an Arc candidate, but she's gone for the Prix de l'Opera instead. So she's your market lead. Obviously, so unlucky in the Nassau Stakes. She's 7-4. But the Saint Cloud form last time out, Jana Rose just got the better Lumiere Rock, but I thought Lumiere Rock was absolutely fantastic over at the Curran Irish Champions weekend. She was just ahead behind Jana Rose. She's at 6-1. She wasn't beaten too far in the Ribblesdale on decent ground either by Warm Heart, who's come out and won the Yorkshire Oaks. So she'd be my pick for Joseph O'Brien. 7-1 Jackie O been aimed at this by Aidan O'Brien, and 15-2 bars. So the French horse on the short side says she had got no luck in running at Glorious Goodwood. They're looking for compensation, but I do like Lumiere Rock here.
We'll start with the favourite. What did you make of her run in the Vermeer last time?
Too short. Well, I just don't think she should be this price. Like, she clearly should win. Was there really a massive excuse in the Vermeer?
Don't know.
I don't know. Like, I don't understand that. I think this is a pretty open race.
She's obviously got a huge reputation, hasn't she?
Yeah,
because she came after she won the Prix d'Anne to Goodwood, and everyone said, "Oh, you can't look beyond her." I know everything didn't go her way, but it's not flawless, is it, her profile?
No, certainly not. Yeah, as you point out, her market reputation obviously sort of precedes what she's actually achieved on the track at the moment. The horse I was gravitating towards, who wasn't even on the graphic, was a Stay Alert at a massive price. I mean, if Via Sistina was running here, she'd probably be second favourite, I'd wager. And I thought Stay Alert was in that Pretty Polly at the Curragh a couple of starts back. She obviously she was almost completely wiped out and stayed on for second. I don't think there's much between her and Via Sistina on that form. She sort of had a bit of a midsummer break, then came back for the Yorkshire Oaks. Race didn't really pan out for her that day. I don't think she's a mile 4 filly particularly. Dropping her back to a mile 2, and you're getting 20-1 plus. I think she's quite interesting.
Johnny, what do you make of the favourite here?
Oh, I couldn't have it in my mind, Emma. I thought it wasn't as unlucky as people thought it was in Goodwood. It was a bit unlucky, all right, but it didn't close much going to the line, and I thought it ran terrible the last day, absolutely terrible. I can't see for the life of me how it's 7-4. I think on top of that, the jockey on it looks like you wouldn't put him up in a carousel, would you? I wouldn't anyway. I think he's an off-ride. And there are plenty of horses here with chances. Jana Rose has a chance. Lumia Rock has a chance. Even Rogue Millennium is a chance, even though it just might be a half a furlong too far for her. But the one that interests me was Jackie O. I thought normally the way Ryan Moore rides is pretty proactive, but for some reason in that race at the Curragh, he dropped it out completely, and she was finishing pretty well, and he didn't seem to be that urgent on her. I think she's a chance of reversing the form with Lumia Rock, but I'd be big time against the fair. I can't believe it's 7-4, 2-1. If it is, I'll be having a goal in that anyway. But I'm going to chance Jackie O as well.
Okay, then finally the 425, the Abbey, fast and furious over the minimum distance here. Highfield Princess, is she finally going to get her head in front, Matt?
It's a funny one, isn't it? I mean, what do we make of that Curragh run? Was that a case of going to the well once too often? She won at Goodwood, then she had the Nunthorpe. It was 3 tough races in 5 weeks, and now 3 weeks later she's been asked to come here again. The draw's obviously important. She's out in 14 as well. She's 5-2 favourite. The French got a dreadful record here. 3 wins in the last 21 years. Corda Pierre at 7-1. And Go Atletico won at the Curragh the other week, a few days ago. They said straight away, right, off to the Abbey. That's at 9-1. Road Lightning will enjoy the ground 9-1. And then we've got Art Power and Moss Tucker at 10-1 as well. We've got 19 runners. It's not a race I like because the camera angle is absolutely dreadful when you're trying to follow your runners. So it's just an awful race to follow for a punter. But no, Highfield Princess, look, she's racing's darling. She's Yorkshire's darling. I'm just a bit worried if they go into the well once too often, another hard race, fourth in 7 weeks.
I know. I feel like we've discussed Highfield Princess many times on this programme because she starts every time favourite. And I know Paul Keeley was sort of thinking she's just not as good this year as she was last year.
She's 6 now. Every horse eventually reaches their peak, and she might have just. She's still a top notcher, and there's not. We've seen a lot this season. There's not a massive gap between the sort of top class handicappers and the Group 1 sprinters nowadays, as evidenced by Moss Tucker winning the Flying 5 at the Curragh recently.
What did you make of the Curragh, that bizarre race at the Curragh? It's just
sprints. Like they can just do that. Just throw up odd results.
Yeah.
Like draw is such a big thing. I didn't see where Moss Tucker was drawn, but I think he's very interested. 11, cheers, Matt. Yeah, that's probably slightly higher than ideal than you'd want. But I thought he was quite unlucky in the race last year after missing the break from stall 8, which is again quite high. I think he's a better horse this year. He's on the improve. He handles a bit of quicker ground, and yeah, it's just one of those races where you're gonna need plenty of luck. Another one, if they are drawn short, I'd be quite interested in Kurdos for Clive Cox. What draws Kurdos in? 4. Oh, perfect. Well, that's my selection then. Kurdos, yeah, she's just on a bit of an upward curve at the moment. I thought she did really well at Beverley last time in the Bullet. Really handled the stiff track there. Handles a bit of an ease in the ground. Clive Cox really good with getting these sprinters to keep improving. He also had Get Ahead, who's gone from all of a sudden being a listed horse to finishing a close second to Moss Tucker in the Flying 5. So there's 2. I'd be bang against Highfield Princess from that draw and the fact that she's finding ways to get beaten and probably not quite as good as she used to be.
Matt is right. The camera angle for the Abbey is horrendous, isn't it?
It's a tough watch, yeah. And why aren't they going to sort that out? Is there any way to sort that out?
I don't know. I'm not sure the problem. Johnny, any idea on camera angles in Paris?
Yeah, look, I think it used to be worse. Now they kind of show a head on, don't they? They used to have a side on there one time for that. You couldn't make head or tail what was happening. But the last few years, I think they had a head on. But from what I could see in a race anyway, if you were drawn on the left-hand side as you looked at the screen, which I presume is high, you'd no chance, basically. So it's got to be a horse from a low... And I don't know what the draw is, to be honest. But a Highfield Princess, one of the guys there said she's drawn 14. That's a bit too high for my liking anyway. And I don't have a huge opinion in it, but I would be guessing that... Like, it looks a pretty average race, doesn't it, for a Group 1? Like, if Highfield Princess was at her peak, she probably could even win from 14, but nearly every race she's running this year, I think she's on a slight bit of a downward spiral, isn't she? Like, and the last day, I know she might have been she might have been a bit slow away from the traps, but she didn't run great. But as Robbie said, like in sprints, 5 furlong sprints, anything can happen. Look, I'd be going for something drawn low, but I actually don't know what that could be.
Great honesty there. Well, before we get stuck into our weekend naps, go check out racingpost.com/free bets to see how you may be able to get £500 this week of free bets yourself. Well, with all this racing, surely each of you can find a winner. Matt, it's simple. Where are you going for your best bet of the weekend?
Well, it's got to be Longchamp, is it? It's on Saturday, though. I really like Isaac Shelby in the Prix Daniel Wildenstein. Just touched off in the French skin. He's run some cracking races against Kinross over the 7 furlongs. He is going back up to mile. He's drawn in 1. Sean Levy on board, back on board. I think Isaac Shelby will take plenty beating. In the Group 2, Daniel Wildenstein.
Johnny, best bet of the weekend?
I go with Capulet in the Royal Lodge in the 150 Newmarket Saturday. I was actually surprised he was such a good price. He's 2-1 nearly most places, and like he all but beat Diego Velasquez. Maybe with a stronger ride, he might even have beat him. Like if Diego Velasquez in this, there's no way he'd be 2-1. They looked at more or less the same horse to me, and okay, it's a decent race, it's a Group 2, but I'd be surprised if Capulet isn't better than the Group 2 horse when time comes. And he looks a very smart horse to me, and probably the best 2-year-old that O'Brien is running in for the whole weekend in Newmarket. And he at 2-1, I think he's a cracking price. I think very hard to beat.
Robbie, what are you backing to pay for the haircut? You cannot come back here next week.
Do you know
without
what?
This haircut.
I was actually going to put one up in the race Johnny was talking about there. A different one. But yeah, Ghostwriter.
Oh, yes.
I'll make a case, but then I'll give another nap. I don't think this is just all about Capulet. I think this Ghostwriter for Clive Cox is a very good horse.
Richard spoke strongly about Ghostwriter.
Did he? Interesting. Yeah, you look at the times of his 7 furlong novice win at Ascot last time. He ran a similar time. Both races were strongly run. He ran a similar time to Quinault, who won the 7 furlong handicap, carrying £13 more. I think this is a really, really good 2-year-old. And there's loads of stamina on the dam side. I think he's going to relish an extra furlong. So I don't think that's necessarily a one-horse race. But for the nap, I think if there's one horse that's incorrectly priced, it's Stay Alert in the Prix de l'Opera, which is at £3.50 at Longchamp on Sunday.
OK, perfect. Well, I'm going to go River Tiber in the Middle Park to reverse that form. The commentary winner, Fraden O'Brien, I think he's the one they've got to beat there. Johnny, weekend plans? Well, you're not going to the Arc. We know that. That's not on the bucket list.
No, I won't be there. Look, the sport is fantastic this time of the year, between like Ryder Cup and rugby, horse racing, Premiership, all that kind of stuff. So no, look, if anyone that likes sport, and I do like sport, you won't be short of something to watch anyway.
Brilliant, Johnny. Thanks as always for coming on the programme. Matt, what are you up to? Well, you need multiple screens, don't you? It sounds like Johnny.
Yeah, I will be nowhere where there's no TV, that's for sure. There'll be TVs, tablets, laptops, still screens covering it. It's a great weekend. Most weekends are great weekends for sporting fans, but this one specifically, I mean, I love the ARC, the weekend. I love the Ryder Cup as well. And, we've got plenty of football, but that's going to take like a back seat this weekend. So, yeah, golf and racing all the way. Brilliant weekend. Good
stuff. Thank you again for being on the programme. Robbie?
Yeah, again, racing, football, rugby, golf. I think I'm going to bake some flapjack as well, just to throw in a random one. One of our staff members.
Is that one of your regular things to do?
No, I've never done it before, but I was just inspired because one of our staff members brought some in. I thought, Christ, that is nice. But it wasn't vegan. I didn't have any. I've had some before. So I made some vegan flapjack, but sport is very much the number one. Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff.
I try not to go on about it, but...
Will you bring? Oh no, I was going to say, will you bring some to try next week? But a week old, it might have just lost.
No, I think it will last. I'll make it Saturday, so that's 6 days, airtight container.
Keep it in a
Yeah.
Okay, can I try some next
I'll
week?
save you a slice. Yeah.
Okay,
definitely.
Good stuff. We'll enjoy the weekend.
What's a vegan? What's vegan? What is that? What does that mean? You're a vegetarian? Is it?
You never heard of the phrase vegan, Johnny?
He's Irish.
What don't you eat? Or something?
Okay, I don't eat any animal products, so no meat, fish or dairy. So vegetarian is just you still eat dairy.
Do you wear leather shoes?
No.
No.
So you're like a vegan is it's a vegetarian that doesn't eat dairy as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's just don't. So I wouldn't have honey either because honey is sort of taking it from the bees, isn't it?
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, I'm not actually sure I want this vegan flapjack.
Oh, it'd be
next
lovely.
week.
No, you just use substitutes
Okay.
instead of cow's milk, you use soy milk. Tastes exactly the same.
Okay, brilliant. Love it. Love it. Well, I'm glad we've cleared up what a vegan is for Johnny over there, who was completely in the dark as to what we were talking about. I'm going to let Robbie go and start baking his flapjack. Good luck. I hope we've found some winners for you this weekend, and we'll be back again next Friday on What a Shout.